Brad Pitt's guest appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live started like any other late-night interview. Warm lights, a cheering crowd, and a beloved Hollywood star strolling onto the stage with that signature smile. Dressed in a crisp suit with a casual air, Pitt looked every bit the icon he's known to be. Jimmy welcomed him with open arms and a quick joke, and the audience responded with laughter and applause. But within minutes, the light-hearted atmosphere took a drastic turn. As Jimmy delved into questions about Pitt's recent press controversies and rumors surrounding a private legal battle, the actor's demeanor began to shift. His smile tightened, and his body language turned guarded. What was intended as playful probing quickly felt like an ambush. Pitt, known for his cool and collected nature, didn't erupt immediately, but the tension was written all over his face. Trying to maintain the tone, Jimmy threw in a sarcastic jab about Pitt's past relationships, clearly fishing for a viral reaction. "So Brad, any new headlines you want to cause tonight?" he joked. The audience laughed, but Pitt didn't. He took a slow breath and looked Jimmy straight in the eye. "You know, man, there's a difference between comedy and crossing a line. I'm here to talk about my film, not to play tabloid games." That line stunned the studio into an awkward silence. Jimmy attempted to soften the blow with a chuckle, saying, "Come on, Brad, we're just messing around." But Pitt wasn't budging. "It's not messing around when you bring real-life stuff into a comedy segment," he replied, voice calm but clearly irritated. The crowd, sensing the growing tension, offered a few nervous laughs, unsure whether to side with humor or seriousness. Jimmy tried to backpedal, switching gears to ask about Pitt's latest movie, but the mood had already shifted. "Tell us about the stunts you did yourself in this one," Jimmy asked, trying to steer things back on course. Pitt answered mechanically, giving a short response. "Yeah, I did most of them. We trained hard. That's kind of what we do." His tone was polite, but there was no enthusiasm. It was clear his trust in the host had been compromised. Jimmy, feeling the pressure of live television, attempted to lighten the room again with a joke about Pitt's age and action roles, which only made things worse. "You're still doing stunts at your age? Man, someone get this guy a walker." Jimmy laughed, but Pitt didn't even smirk. "You're really pushing it tonight," he said under his breath, but loud enough for the mic to catch. The control room began scrambling behind the scenes. Producers were whispering through headsets, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the interview ride. But Pitt didn't wait for direction. He leaned forward in his chair, looked directly at Jimmy, and asked, "Is this how you treat everyone who comes on your show, or is it just me tonight?" The question hung in the air like a cloud. Jimmy, caught off guard, tried to laugh it off. "Hey, we love you, Brad. We're just having fun here." But Pitt had had enough. "Nah, man, you're making a joke out of my life for ratings. That's not cool." The audience gasped lightly, some still not sure whether this was all part of the act or something real. But Pitt's eyes showed no sign of pretense. The tension was all too real. What happened next stunned everyone in the studio. Brad unhooked his mic, stood up from his chair, and said, "You know what, I think I'm done here." Jimmy's eyes widened in disbelief. "Waiter Brad, come on, sit down, we can talk it out." But Pitt shook his head. "You want to talk? Let's talk like adults, off camera. I'm not your punchline." He turned and began walking off the stage. The audience erupted in murmurs, some even applauding his boldness. Jimmy, visibly flustered, tried to save face. "Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Pitt, everyone," he said, trying to keep the show moving. But the damage had been done. Pitt had walked off live television, mid-interview, in what was arguably one of the most dramatic exits in late-night history. The internet exploded within minutes. Social media platforms were flooded with hashtags like Brad walks out, Pitt vs Kimmel, and Late Night Meltdown. Clips from the show were circulating rapidly, with millions of views and countless opinions. Some fans praised Brad for standing up for himself, calling his actions mature and dignified. Others criticized him, saying he overreacted to a format known for comedy. But regardless of opinion, everyone agreed it was a moment of raw reality on a show known for rehearsed laughs. The clash between two entertainment giants had become the focal point of pop culture discussion, turning a regular episode into a viral sensation overnight. Jimmy Kimmel addressed the incident in the closing moments of the show, trying to smooth things over. "Well, that went a broken bar differently than expected," he joked, forcing a smile. "We love Brad and hope he comes back someday when he's ready to laugh again." His tone was a mix of humor and damage control. Backstage, sources reported that producers were in chaos, trying to reach Pitt's team for an apology or a statement. But Pitt remained silent. He left the building without talking to press or taking any photos. And that silence only fueled speculation. Was it pre-planned? Was there already bad blood? Or did Jimmy simply cross a line that no one expected? The days that followed were filled with think pieces, podcast debates, and TV analysts weighing in. Psychologists were invited on morning shows to talk about the emotional toll on celebrities. One common point kept emerging: the growing tension between celebrity culture and late-night TV. While these shows once provided light-hearted promotion, they now often served as arenas for public interrogation masked as humor. Pitt's walkout was seen as a symbol of reclaiming control. He wasn't going to play the media game if it meant being disrespected in front of millions. For many fans, it was a moment of empowerment, especially in an era where mental health and dignity were finally being taken seriously. Eventually, Pitt broke his silence in a written interview with a prominent magazine. He explained, "I went on that show to talk about art, about the film we poured our souls into. Instead, I felt like a circus animal being poked for laughs. I won't apologize for choosing self-respect." His statement was direct and unapologetic. He didn't name Jimmy but made it clear that he felt ambushed. "We can laugh, sure, but there's a line, and I choose not to ignore it anymore." The statement went viral, gaining massive support. Celebrities and fans alike shared the post, with many using it to speak about their own experiences of feeling reduced to headlines rather than heard as human beings. Jimmy Kimmel responded during his next episode, taking a more serious tone. "I want to say I respect Brad Pitt. Always have. Always will. Maybe I misread the room that night. Maybe I tried to be funny when I should have just been real." It was the closest thing to an apology the host gave. He didn't dwell on it long, choosing to move the show along quickly. But the message was clear: even seasoned entertainers like Kimmel could find themselves misjudging moments in the age of real-time reactions and public accountability. And in that moment, he showed humility, however brief. Behind the scenes, the production team took the incident seriously. Meetings were held to discuss the tone of future interviews, especially when dealing with sensitive topics. The network issued a vague statement about supporting respectful dialogue and acknowledging that sometimes things don't go as planned. Meanwhile, Brad Pitt went back to promoting his film on other platforms, selectively choosing interviewers and steering clear of gimmicky formats. His image, instead of being damaged, actually gained strength. He was seen as a man who valued dignity over drama, art over attention. As the media cycle moved on, the clash faded from headlines but remained a memorable footnote in both Pitt's and Kimmel's careers. For Pitt, it was a defining moment that drew a line in the sand. For Jimmy, it was a learning experience, a reminder that even jest has its boundaries. Fans still debate who was right and who was wrong, but many agree that the rawness of that moment was a rare glimpse behind the curtain of celebrity performance. It was real, uncomfortable, and powerful. And those qualities are precisely why it stuck in the minds of millions. In years to come, that episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live will likely be revisited in retrospectives and documentaries about celebrity culture. It marked a moment where authenticity broke through the polished surface of late-night television. Whether it was a clash of egos, a misunderstanding, or a necessary confrontation, one thing is certain: it exposed something deeper. The pressure to laugh through pain, the expectation to entertain at all costs, and the quiet rebellion of saying no in front of millions. It was more than a moment, it was a message. Brad Pitt being kicked off the show, whether by his own will or backstage decisions, wasn't just a sensational headline. It was a reflection of how much the industry has changed, and how far celebrities are willing to go to reclaim their voice. Jimmy Kimmel, to his credit, took it with grace, even if awkwardly. And Brad, he walked out not as a diva, but as a man demanding respect. In a world obsessed with applause, sometimes the most powerful move is walking away in silence. And that silence spoke louder than any laugh ever could.